welcome to the Longevity with Light webinar. And I'm your host, Leslie Klein, and I'm so excited about this wearable light technology that I have been using for about 6 months now. In this particular episode of this webinar, we're going to be diving in to the benefits of the Energy Enhancer Patch, which is a groundbreaking, non-invasive technology designed to naturally elevate your energy levels and enhance overall well-being. So our special guest tonight is Dr. Jon Harmon, and he's a doctor of chiropractic and also board certified in neurofeedback. He's the founder of Clear Mind Idaho and author of 2 books, How to Reverse Aging and The Reverse Aging Power of Epitalon. But before we get to Dr. Harmon, I'm going to introduce you to my 2 co-hosts, Beth Steele and Chamisa Leiden. So welcome, ladies.
Hey, how are y'all?
Hi.
Great. Good to be back on our little featured patch tonight. I'm so excited about Dr. Harmon coming in and sharing.
Me too.
Yes. And we want to welcome all of our viewers who are watching, whatever platform you're watching. Now we're streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So you can actually ask your questions in the comments. We'll put them on the screen. But before we start with that, I would like to ask Beth to read the disclaimer.
Sure. LifeWave products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The information provided is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Individual results may vary. Consult with a healthcare professional before using LifeWave products, especially if you have a medical condition or are taking medications.
Thank you. Yes. And let me, again, Dr. Harmon is an expert in neurofeedback, energy wellness, and peptides like the GHK copper peptide and Epitalon. Tonight he's going to share how we can boost energy, burn fat, and slow aging naturally. So please help me welcome Dr. Jon Harmon. Hello, Dr.
Yay! Welcome.
So great to see you.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
I'm excited to share this information with everyone.
We are too.
You are a wealth of information. I have heard you many times, and you deliver.
Yes.
Thank you.
For sure.
Could you make sure that my wife understands that I'm the expert?
We'll have a talk with her.
Okay.
Not to worry.
Individual results may vary.
Oh, that's exactly right.
So, Dr. Harmon, tell us how you've been a doctor of chiropractic for many years before you started getting into LifeWave. Can you tell us about your journey and how you got into LifeWave and how that fits into your practice?
Yes, I've been a licensed chiropractor for 35 years, but we had some pretty big shifts in my family. Let's just say it involved 3 traumatic things that caused me to shift to go look for things to help my granddaughters and my daughter's brains that they had sustained the suicide of their cousin and the murder of their brother-in-law. My daughter's husband was murdered. And so they had really bad anxiety and depression. And I went on a journey to try to find things to fix their brains that led me on this path. And then in 2016, I founded Clear Mind Center of Idaho. I went and I got board certified in QEEG and neurofeedback, and got the specialized education in functional neurology and laser therapies. And now we help people get their brains right. Well, with that background, when COVID hit in...
We lost him. Oh my. Well, we lost our Dr. Harmon, and I'm going to assume...
Oh, Dr. Harmon, come back.
You really left us hanging.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Hold on.
That is tragic.
There you are.
Oh, good.
There
I
you
think
are.
you lost me here for a minute. My
We
screen
did.
We did.
That doesn't look
Okay.
good.
You did good getting back on fast.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad I was able to get back on fast. So,
Us too.
Thank you.
in March of 2020, a friend of mine called me, and we were shamed into closing like everybody else was. And I knew I was either going to be sitting around doing something or not. And my friend said, "What do you know about stem cells?" And I said, "I've had stem cell injections on both knees. Kind of helped." And he said, "What if you could elevate your own stem cells by wearing this little patch?" And I instantly went into, short circuit mode. How is that possible? But I think one of the very reasons I was open to looking at something is because I had these shifts before. I had to reinvent myself. I didn't mention that I got bone infection in my wrist from a root canal, and then really couldn't bend my wrist anymore. So a drummer and a chiropractor can't bend his wrist. This is why I was ready. I thought, this isn't how retirement was going to go down when all of those shifts happened. So I thought, you know what? I need to look at this, and I need to pay attention to this new technology. And then when I started digging into the research, I prepared different PowerPoint presentations about it so everybody could understand what this technology is and how huge it is for the world, that we can wear a patch instead of taking a pill to elevate a peptide. That was remarkable. So I started using the X39 in the end of March 2020. Did not know at the time that there was something going on in my heart. I knew it kind of felt funny at times, but I didn't know what it was. 4.5 months later, I had a stress echocardiogram done. That's when I found out I had a right bundle branch block. I'll tell you the result of that towards the end here. But here's the situation. We have a little patch that we can wear on our body. And when we do that, the signal coming from this patch is actually part of your own energy that we emit into our surroundings. If you touch someone, they're warm. The reason that is it's infrared. It's warm. That's what the footprint on night vision goggles, that's what that is. It's looking at those frequencies, converting them to color. The way the patch works is this. The same system that is used when sunlight hits our skin and signals our body to make more vitamin D, except it's a different frequency. It's like changing the channel on a radio. Okay, with this frequency, we're going to get a reaction in the body to make vitamin D. With this signal coming from the patch, we're going to use that same system, except this time, we're going to get a peptide that we normally make in high supply when we're younger, in our 20s, up till about 30, 35. And then, that hurts a lot more when I fall, when I'm skiing. That, it hurts if I fall down and I'm starting to see wrinkles and all that aging stuff. Part of that is because that peptide starts to decline for whatever reason. Pollution, stress, we don't know. It just starts to go down. But here is the big thing about the X39 is that the peptide that I wrote the book about, I cite the research that's been going on since 1977 that shows that it turns on the genes that activate production of our own stem cells. If you don't know what stem cells are, just think that they can become any cell. I call them the cells that haven't decided what they want to be when they grow up. That's the book that I wrote about this peptide and another copper peptide. If you scan that code, it won't go to Amazon. It goes to my office, and you can get a signed book. The ones on Amazon are not signed. So this is How to Reverse Aging, a comprehensive guide to copper peptides. 91 references to the research that's been going on since 1977 on what the GHK copper peptide and the AHK copper peptide do. So in order to determine any potential benefit of wearing the X39, since a study showed that wearing the X39 elevates GHK, you just turn to the literature. You don't have to, LifeWave didn't do that. Scientists did it all over the world. And what they found.
We lost him again. We're on a cliffhanger again.
I was going to say he likes that.
Here he is. Here he is.
I don't know. It just
There
keeps
you are.
freaking me out.
Gotta love
Been one of those days.
technology.
I think
Yeah.
we're being hacked by big pharma.
Very possible.
We don't want people knowing that stuff that can help them stay healthy.
That's right. You're too well known. It's you, doctor.
It's my electric personality, right? I'm short circuiting my computer.
Well, I'm on the edge of my seat, so
Yes.
please carry on.
Me too.
So that's the X39. It elevates GHK. There was an independent study done with using blood samples, and they found, and what was really interesting, it didn't create a big change in the first 24 hours. But over 7 days, there was a huge increase in GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream. So we know what it does from the literature, and we know that wearing that patch elevates GHK. So it's important to understand, though, the origin or the founding of LifeWave. X39 wasn't the first patch. The first patch was a result of the US Navy having a problem. They had a problem, and that is Navy SEALs who had to stay awake for 100 hours or more in a little submarine. They were getting addicted to amphetamines and having to use a lot of caffeine. How do you stay awake for 100 hours? I don't know. I've never tried it. But also, here's the other problem. If you're awake for 100 hours, normally, and you get injured, you're at a much higher risk of death. And so they turned to a scientist who had already invented some specialized batteries for them. They knew he was really smart, and they said, hey, David, this is David Schmidt I'm referring to. David, can you come up with a way of naturally increasing energy in these Navy SEALs so they don't have to take amphetamines? So he went to work, and he posed the question, first of all, how would I do it? But then he measured what frequencies of light are we emitting into our surroundings. If I could could some of those frequencies be used like light therapy, like laser light, like red light, green light, blue light, all kinds of different light therapies? Could part of the spectrum that the body emits be used to turn on beneficial pathways? And then he said, so he figured out what those frequencies were, and then how would I get it back into the body? So he formed specific crystal structures that do not exist in nature. He figured out with this substance, I can activate this pathway. So the energy enhancer patch was designed not to increase a peptide. It was designed to signal the body to turn on fat burning in our cells. So it's called beta-oxidation when we burn fat. And so it biases the system towards fat burning rather than sugar. So we burn 300 to 600 calories more per day in fat. It's not touted as a weight loss, but if you do the math, there's 300 to 600 calories. Each pound is 3,500 calories. So what it does, it gives someone, I wouldn't say it gives them energy. I call it a lack of fatigue and afternoon drowsiness. And I didn't realize how much of an effect it was having on me. I knew I just felt good, and I didn't, I had lots of energy, but I hadn't talked to this one barber where I get my haircut for a long time because he got really busy, and we used to talk all the time, and he was always busy. With this one day, about 2 years after I started using energy enhancers, he didn't have a client, and we started chatting, and after a minute or two, he looked at me and he said, "You don't fall asleep anymore." I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that until somebody told me about it. I didn't realize that I used to fall asleep every single time I got my hair cut because it's afternoon and, I'm kind of out of energy, but I don't have that anymore because I use the energy enhancer patch. So it's, if somebody has chronic fatigue or, they just get these energy drops and they want to just be themselves. It doesn't change personality. It doesn't make anyone hyper, but it activates fat burning for energy. Now, fast forward to 2004, our U.S. men's Olympic swim team with Michael Phelps used the energy enhancer patches and won all those medals. So many of them got their personal bests. And the other countries thought they were doping. They saw these little patches on them. They thought they were transdermal patches. So they investigated, and the U.S. and world doping agencies investigated. And they said, no, there's no doping. Nothing comes from the patch into the body. In the Beijing Olympics, 4 years later, there were over 300 athletes using them. So that's the energy enhancer patch. You can use them for also for under-functioning organs. They need a little energy sometimes. So that one of the things that the energy enhancer patch is good for is firing up the systems that you have to have more energy. I actually wear mine on the bottoms of my feet because I'm the 1 in 10,000 that is allergic to the adhesive. So if you're out there, I know somebody listening, you're out there, somebody else has an allergy to adhesives, guess what? You don't even have to wear them on your skin. You can put them on the inside of your clothing and it will do the exact same thing because it's the non-adhesive side is just the opposite side of the same substance. So it doesn't matter which side is touching you. So those of you who are saying, well, I can't stick things to my skin, neither can I, except on the bottom of the feet because most of it's callus or dead skin, and dead skin cells don't make histamine. And that's what happens when you get redness and all that stuff. Some of the other very important things to understand, I want to just go back a little bit on the GHK copper peptide. So the energy enhancer was the first patch, yes. X39 that elevates GHK came out in 2018. Since that day, the company has experienced over a 4,000% increase in global sales because it works and people keep using it and people keep telling their friends about it because they want them to be healthy too. And I did a webinar about a year ago, and it was about the top things that cause us to age faster and die younger, and how the peptide GHK copper peptide, and another one I'm going to introduce you to right now called Epitalon that we mentioned. The natural form is epithalamin. Why did I call it Epitalon in my book? That's because researchers can't make enough epithalamin. They have to harvest it from pineal glands, so they synthesized it. So the research was done on the synthetic version, same amino acids hooked together. So that's why it's called the reverse aging power of Epitalon. It's known as the fountain of youth peptide in the research. Who doesn't want that? Fountain of youth, here's why. If you don't know what telomeres are, well, I'll explain it right now, but I want you to think of the little plastic cap on the end of your shoelaces, holding all of the threads together that form your shoelaces. We have something similar to that hold our genes together. When a cell has to divide, the chromosomes have to come apart, they have to replicate, come back together. Well, the ending of those units lose a little bit of length in the telomeres every time a cell divides. Your lifespan is dependent upon the length of your telomeres. So, wouldn't it be cool if we could lengthen them out back to the length they were when we were younger. This is what the end result of wearing the Alavita patch does, because it signals our pineal gland to make more epithalamin, the natural form. Epithalamin signals the release of telomerase, which repairs, puts the endings back on our gene endings known as telomeres. So each cell, when that happened, our cells can only divide and replicate so many times. When it reaches the maximum times it can divide, it's called the Hayflick limit, after Dr. Hayflick. And that is, there are only so many times a cell can divide, and then it will either die, or if you don't have the resources to replace it, it becomes a zombie cell. That's a real term. Let me define it. Zombie cells can't perform the duty they're supposed to. They just demand to be fed. I'm not going to do anything but feed me. If you don't have the resources to replace those cells that are dying or being killed off by your body, our body kills off 50 to 70 billion cells a day because they're old and sick and dying. If you have the resources, if you don't, it can't, and they become zombie cells. So the tie-in with epithalamin, activating release of telomerase repairs the gene enzymes. This is why it's called the fountain of youth peptide. But there are many other things that benefits of epithalamin. We also get a release of melatonin. This is why we use it at night. It activates the pineal gland to release more melatonin. Also, if you have good sleep, because now you're getting enough melatonin, and you go into the normal, there are 5 1.5 hour sleep cycles. 5 times 1.5, do the math, 7.5, 8 hours. That's what we're supposed to sleep. Why is there so much talk about getting 8 hours of sleep? Because those cycles, certain things happen in those different parts of those cycles. Brain cleansing, body cleansing, integrating all of the things you did during the day and forming memories, forming new neurons, so that you can, the things that you practice during the day, you don't make new neurons during the day. That's not when it happens. Your body rehearses things you did during the day hundreds of times, and it stimulates the growth of new neurons so that you can do whatever you studied, whatever you practiced for better. This is what neuroplasticity is all about. This happens while we're asleep. That's why I tell students, one of the stupidest things you could do is stay up all night and cram for a test. Study it, go to sleep. Your body's going to think about it all night. It's going to form new neurons. It's going to help you do it better and answer the test questions. So we have little review. The Alavita patch signals the pineal gland to release more melatonin or epithalamin. It's a natural peptide your pineal gland makes. In turn, telomerase gets activated, melatonin gets released, and then this happens. A normalization of your circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is we eat during the day, certain things, certain hormones have to be secreted at certain times during the day. We sleep at night. If that gets mixed up, your hormones you do not have hormone balance because things are getting made and secreted at the wrong time. This is why you don't want to eat before you go to sleep. Your body can't sleep. It can't go through those cycles with food in your stomach. Allow yourself 3 hours from the time you finish eating, not start eating, finish eating before you go to bed. If you're hungry and it's like 20 minutes before you go into bed, go to bed hungry. Drink a glass of water. You're going to mess up with your circadian rhythm. One last thing about epithalamin and the Alavita patch. It signals your body to make and release more somatotropin, which is growth hormone. Growth hormone is what maintains the skin integrity. You know, you can look at somebody and you haven't seen them in a few years and they go, man, they look so old. What are you judging? You're judging the appearance of the skin, you know, saggy, wrinkly skin. Somatotropin or HGH helps the skin stay plump and smooth so that you don't look so old. People pay a lot of money to reverse things that happen because they didn't have enough of that. But man, if you can just help maintain that by wearing this patch, what a great thing. And it sure is a lot cheaper than a facelift and a lot healthier as well. I see Leslie's back on.
Yes. Well, we have questions for you. We try to keep this to about 30 minutes, but it's very
Okay.
hard because you've
I thought
given
we
us
talked
so
longer
much
than that.
information.
Well, you had some
And
great information. And I have to
Yes.
tell you, the zombie cells reminded me of a bad marriage. Somebody just wants to be fed.
Oh, that's good. That's good
But
stuff.
I regress. Go ahead.
I need a drum to put up and a cymbal.
And you're a drummer.
Oh,
And I
oh
am
my
a,
goodness.
yeah, I used to be.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's right. You're marble champion from elementary school and you're a 70s drummer and you've got all this wealth of knowledge and information. So if we have some questions, we might as well get to them because, oh my
Let's do
goodness.
it.
All right,
Yeah.
Beth, you
well,
had one.
Jamisa, you
Oh.
had one regarding your concussion. You had
Oh, well, yeah, I thought you did more brain concussion type things, but you seems like you go more into depression and anxiety.
Yeah, concussion, cognitive decline, autism, seizures, tremors, all of those things.
So since I saw you in Phoenix, I broke my wrist. And that
wow.
breaking my wrist involved a concussion. So
man.
I'm patching on the outside because I'm healing a little bit better than I would be expected to at this age. But yeah, I would guess that the other patches that might be best for that are carnosine maybe. And
Are you talking about for the brain?
yeah.
Yeah. Carnosine, definitely. X49 as well. Really good for the brain. Because the AHK is made in the brain, the heart, and the muscle. And that's where it's needed. So carnosine, X39, X49. X39 has huge benefits for the brain. In fact, there's so much information from the research on the brain that I had to break it up into 3 chapters, whereas everything else only has 1 chapter. Skin, 1 chapter. Cardiovascular, 1 chapter. No.
I know. I'm still working on reading them. They're valuable information. Thank you.
And it helps when we have a lot of testimonials, like millions probably, I don't know. But when you can marry that with some of the science, I think people come about it with more authenticity because, I'm not just, the company didn't tell me this. This is what researchers have shown in the research, in the literature.
Yeah, it's not just sticking on one of these that does nothing. It does a lot.
Yeah, it does a lot.
Whether you feel it or not, it is going to work.
Yes.
Dr. Harmon, we have a comment from our audience. A friend says that we have a friend who is fighting cancer. How would this therapy help her?
Well, first of all, we have to say that we don't treat cancer, but I can tell you that in the literature, there is information about, for example, the GHK copper peptide has some anti-cancer properties. One of them is that it helps reset the cellular death cycle of some cancer cells. What is that? Well, why are cancer cells cancer cells? They just keep multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. They invade whatever tissue is next to them and kill it because of the pressure, just keep invading and moving out. It's like a horde of cells going everywhere because they don't die. They just keep dividing. And so 2 things. One, it helps reset the cellular death cycle, but also, remember when I talked about telomeres? Mm-hmm. It's not just lengthening telomeres, it's maintaining the proper length and preventing them from getting too long, and then the cell becomes eternal. It just keeps dividing. And that's one of the things I found in the literature too, is that epitalon in the research is really, really helpful for maintaining proper telomere length, not just lengthening it, maintaining the proper length. Because you can get mutations, but also things to consider. When genes mutate, what happens? Well, they can mutate into a cancer cell. So the GHK repairs. Let me back up a little bit. So what causes mutations? Well, we get an X-ray and it causes, a change in our genes. It damages the gene. If the gene isn't repaired, it will divide with that mutation, and now there's a chance it could become a cancer cell. So GHK copper peptide repairs about a third of our genes, thereby preventing them from, a mutation from that or oxidative stress or whatever it is from passing or being passed on to the next generation of cells. So there's that part. And one more, the GHK copper peptide also turns off 25 genes that people can be born with that predispose them to get cancer. Then you look at somebody going through the cancer itself and fortifying the rest of their body to fight and activating their immune system. There's a whole chapter about immune system and the function of GHK in fighting infection, turning on certain genes. You'll find that it turns on, I call them the Navy SEALs and the Marines, the Green Berets, the first cells that come out to kill things like cancer cells. And that's what's so tragic about this COVID shot. It actually kills off those cells. They don't have those cells anymore. That's why people are getting hypercancer. On the other hand, GHK copper peptide activates those cells. If you have them, but if you don't make them anymore, then you can't activate them.
So the X39 is, sorry, Leslie, but that's where that X39 would be what her, that question from the audience is.
Yeah,
X39.
And also epithalon.
Which is the Alavita patch.
From the Alavita patch. And again, not treating cancer, we have to say that. But man, if you can help your body be the best it can be and repair things on its own, help it take care of business on its own. That's how I see these patches.
Yeah.
Well, Beth, you had a question, and I think.
Yeah, and well, you just mentioned seizures and epilepsy. Is there kind of a patching protocol you would use for those symptoms?
Well, I have several modalities I use in the office, so I can't just say that, using a certain patch protocol. We do several different things in my office. The neurofeedback we do is designed to untrain the primitive brain from the faulty pattern that it's stuck in so that the brain can go into a normal regulation. On a QEEG, quantitative electroencephalogram, that's where my certification is, we see changes in, I call them the little motors or the little lobes of the brain. There's supposed to be a certain amount of electrical activity. When it gets too much or not enough, we start to get symptoms. We help it return to a normal amount of electrical activity. So things that can help that, we use in our protocol. The the X39, there was a brain study done showing that it helps normalize certain aspects of that electrical activity. And it happens to be, the study that was done was measuring side-to-side crosstalk called coherence, and it helped normalize it. Well, if you have hypercoherence, the more areas of hypercoherence you have, the more autistic we are. The more areas of hypocoherence or not enough crosstalk, the more cognitive decline you have. So I frankly, when for anything anyone has, I would try the X39 first.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Miracles with things that seem to be untouchable. And I've interviewed people who've had these things that seem to be untouchable, and the doctors have given up on them, and then they use the X39, and then huge changes happen. So you look at epilepsy, for example, you have these foci of these little spots where there's too much electrical activity, and then people have the seizure activity. Well, if we're normalizing electrical activity in the brain without doing surgery or anything else, that would be worth seeing if that helped that person. I don't know if it will. Nobody does until you do it. And the great thing is there aren't any side effects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dr. Harmon, so much. We have to keep it to our,
Sure.
try to keep it to the 30
I'm
minutes.
That's the task right
His
there.
attention span.
Too late.
But thank you. And I'm just going to suggest everyone just buy your books, because your books have it all. And there we go.
It
And,
definitely, you'll get a lot of your questions answered about how does this happen? You know, how can it help so many different things? They're in there. It's in the research.
Well, and your contact information is on your book, so that's a great thing. When people order those books, they can stay in touch with you, and
Especially if you go through that link, because that comes from my office, and you will have
the QR link that was up earlier.
the
Correct.
QR link. Yeah.
Help
I'll
manage
follow
the
up.
flow.
What's
Put
that?
that in the description for this video too. What were you going to say, Beth?
I just said help manage the flow of inquiries, right? You get bombarded. It's really nice
Right.
if you provide that.
And also, then they'll have that course, that information, contact information.
Just a quick question. I know we're a little over here, but you did drop off a couple times, so I'm going to cheat. Do you do a lot of work with PTSD or PTS?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It seemed like from the whole gamut of what I've been reading and discussing that was kind of a huge factor in your business. Yeah.
It is. People get stuck in sympathetic freeze from so many insults, emotional, head trauma, chemical exposure. Chemical exposure is why some kids don't respond well to vaccines. Then they have problems their whole life. We treat those kids too.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Have good success with autistic kids.
So people would come up to where your office is. Are you Idaho?
Yeah,
Idaho?
it's in person. It's not. There's nothing I can do remote. The first thing I do is test their parasympathetic nervous system, because if they're stuck in sympathetic freeze, that's not going to be working very well. And so we do this autonomic nervous system testing, and it shows them and it validates how they're feeling. Wow, those aren't even working. How can I digest my food? Well, I'm not. How can I sleep? Well, I'm not. And so we look at that and then balance that out for people.
Wow. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
You.
It was nice. It was nice meeting you here in Phoenix, and
Nice to
look
meet
forward
you.
seeing
Oh,
you
yes,
again.
that was great. That was just a month ago, right?
Right.
2 weeks ago.
Just before this.
All right.
The
Well, I don't want to say it's glad it's you and not me. I won't say that.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
I've had enough of those things in my life, so
We like an honest doctor.
I believe in sharing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harmon, so much for being part of this discussion today. We will put your information and contact information in the description of the video so people can reach out to you and get your book. So thanks
Awesome.
again
I
for
look
all of
forward to it.
your wonderful information. Very
Yeah.
much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
So good
See you.
seeing you again.
So I want to remind people that next month on July 10th, we will have another longevity webinar, and we have a very special guest that will be talking about the glutathione patch. It's Dr. Jen, and I want to thank you all for watching. And to get your hands on these patches, please contact the person that that invited you to this webinar. So we will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone.